Where it stops, no one knows. We're going head into the unknown. Na, 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 na.
Hello, hello, hello. Happy freaking Friday, man. It's already Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. Happy first day of November. Happy birthday to anybody's birthday who happens to be November 1st. Let's throw that out there. Welcome back to Criminality, or if this is your first time here, welcome to Criminality. Today we are going to be discussing the Delphi trial. Surprise! I know, nobody expected it. Just a clarification on how we've been kind of covering things this week because it's been kind of wonky. And I know that anybody who's been here every day already knows this, but and just in case anybody's popping in just to watch this video, I want to make sure that we explain that because of my schedule this week, things have been kind of off and we've been doing almost like a half a day of the day before and a half a day of the day we're on. We should be good today because of the time of this live, that we should be able to finish the entire day of day 13. So yesterday being day 12 of testimony. Today is day 13 of testimony. Now, other channels, other like podcasters, other news sources, whatever you want to call it, have added in the 3 days of jury selection. So you may see yesterday and today being called day 15 or day 16. It's the same day. So it's all relative. I just wanted to make sure you guys knew that. So we left off yesterday almost right when the state was about to rest. And so we're going to finish yesterday's information when the defense ends up starting their case in chief and they are able to call 2 witnesses. And then today has been all defense witness testimony. So we're going to go through that as well. So like I said, they should be finishing up here probably, if they're not already just getting done. It's 5 o'clock there. They'll be getting done in within the hour. So we should be able, by the time we're done with this live, we should have everything from today packed in there. And then tomorrow we should be back to normal with day 14 of testimony. I hope that makes sense. Give me 1 second. Okay, sorry. And so for anybody who is just popping in, I have been sick this week. So my voice is like all weird and it just is, it is what it is. So I'm trying my best to just stick it out and do what I got to do. So let me say hi to you guys, and then we're going to get started because we have a lot of shit to talk about with the witnesses that are being put on the stand by the defense. I've got so much information to go over with you guys of stuff that we are hearing in court versus like what we've heard before. So we're gonna go through it. But let me say hi to you guys first. Oh, Law Junkie says, hi, Law Junkie. I have a huge ask. Can we discuss the actual crime? From the crime scene investigation, I have some questions. Why did Abby have to dress just to die? I mean, that's a great question. Also, was Kelsey investigated? Curious. I'm assuming you're asking like the prosecution and law enforcement that, because we as the public obviously can't tell you whether Kelsey was investigated. I can infer and give you, based on circumstantial evidence, that I do not believe that Kelsey was investigated. They didn't even download her phone, which is a very basic technique. Her DNA was taken and never run, never a profile made for it, which is why they had to take it again at the beginning of trial or right before trial so they could compare it to this hair in the hand that became a big deal. So I can infer that she was not investigated as a perpetrator in this crime. But I don't know. And can we discuss it from the crime scene investigation? Like, I would think that that would be the details that only the killer would know, right? I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't know. Hey, hip hop. Hi, Rochelle. Hi, Sleuthy. They don't even know that white car on cam is Kelsey's. They identify it. They let her identify it herself. No wonder the timeline was never right. Well, and then there's like the weird like testimony of a Bonneville, that she was driving a Bonneville versus, what did she say she was driving? Somebody, one of you guys will tell me. But the testimony of what Becky said she was driving versus what she said she was driving isn't even the same car. So I'm like, what? Like, I don't get that. I could go through a ton of discrepancies. Not that I would have time to do that right now. I'd have to pull up so much shit. There's so much. Ton of discrepancies in the commentary that was put out on social media by Kelsey herself. I've always kind of just summed it up to, she was a 17, and the other things I have to say probably aren't the nicest, so people will get really like all upset about it. But I don't think that she's like top of her class. I'll just say that. Like, I just don't. And then I think that she was easily influenced by law enforcement to go out to the public and say whatever she had to say. Now, people are going to get really mad at that because they're going to be like, well, Teresa's talking shit about the family. I get it. I know why you think that. I'm just trying to be realistic. But there are proven facts that it's proven fact that she would go on this interview and state this information and then go to this, whatever you call it, where she's like talking in front of the crowd. Why can't I think? My brain is just like not there. Somebody will clip that because that'll be fun for them. But like she would do like the presentations like at the colleges, and she'd talk about the case, and like the information would be not the same information. I don't know, but then I guess if she was just completely repeating herself over and over again, then we could critique that. I don't know. It is what it is. It is what it is. It doesn't really change anything about what we're doing right now in the trial. Hey, Ramblin'. Hi, Zach. Hi, Carla. What's up, Judge Jessica? Hi, Heavy Metal. Hi, All Eyes. Hi, Oksana. What's up, Just Deb? Hi, Shibby. I'd do it for a free Tesla. Grandma of 6. My email is criminality187@gmail. I will be very honest. I have struggled to keep up with my email recently. I'm struggling to keep up. I mean, my life has really just been taking care of my family and then doing whatever I can to get notes and shit together for just to figure out what the fuck's going on in the Delphi trial. I am behind on a lot of other things in my life. I just am. I mean, the dishes are done. The laundry's done. I don't know if that counts. What's up, Angel? The defense rested? I highly doubt that. The prosecution rested. I think the defense has a lot more to go. They just started yesterday. What happened to Crime Night? I have no idea. I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea. Hi, Marshall. What's up, local lass? C4P. I don't have any idea what you're talking about. I'd have to, maybe somebody in chat does. Hey, KK, you're sounding a bit better today. Hope you're feeling better. Took a really hot shower before I came live. Empty out all the gunk. Hi, Rachel. What's up, Holy Schnikes? Hi, Punksy. Hi, Laura. What's up, Nancy? Our favorite sickie. I know. I got to return your call, too. You called last night. We were trick-or-treating. Hey, Peggy. Hi, Chelsea. What's up, Indiana girl? I want to know what people think about Cheyenne not saying she heard Derek yelling, or being asked by presumably Derek German and Becky Patty when she saw them when she left if she'd seen the girls. Oh, that'll be a good one. We'll get to that. Glad you took the 5 minutes to get dressed. I did. I actually took the 5 minutes to put some crap in my hair. That's what I took the 5 minutes for. Hey, Karen. What's up, Fluffy Bunny? I pray we get the truth, but I am not. I really hoped with this trial we were going to get the truth. Nick is not. The prosecution has not proven any fucking thing to me. So I know that pisses people off. But I sat on the fence for a really long time, waiting for them to come in and say, "Hey, this is everything we've got," and boom, there's no question. You can absolutely infer that Richard Allen is the right guy. So this will be a question I'm going to ask you guys today: is how many of you guys sat on the fence for the majority of this case, I should say, from time of arrest until now, or whatever you want to call it, before the trial started? How many of you were on the fence? And then how many of you were still on the fence? How many of you fell off the fence to the guilty side, and how many of you fell off the fence to the not guilty side? I should put that in a poll. I'll have Sleuthy Goose, you'll have to remind me that I'm putting it in a poll. Let's do it in a poll. Hold, please. Oh, Indiana girl, you got jokes today, huh? You got jokes today? Let's see. Okay, hold on. I got it up. I had to make sure we weren't going to have some echoing. Start a poll. Okay. So this is only for those of you who started on the fence. Started on the fence before trial. All of you that were like, he's so guilty, he's absolutely guilty, this isn't for you. We'll do another one for you. If you were, he was not the guy, adamant that he's not the guy, then you're not, this question is not for you either. So you're the fence to guilty, fence to not guilty, or still on the fence. For all of you that are still on the fence, I will say, when it comes to the legal side of things, the state has rested. So it's really, there should not really be a fence. I can see if you're still on it, I get it, and obviously I don't care. But they should have proven beyond all reasonable doubt that he is the guy. So let's see what you guys think of this. Only you fence sitters, only the me's of the world. If you're still on the fence, you're still welcome here. Just kidding. Of course you are. I'm off the fence. They're done. I don't have. I'm on the jury, not guilty. And I have no fence. I am off the fence. My fence is gone. On the jury, not guilty. They did not prove their case in chief. My fence is done. I waited and waited, and I told you guys, even the last thing I was waiting for was the bombshell shit from the confession, specifically to his family. That was my last thing I wanted. Have him tell me something. Have him tell me something that only the killer would know. And as soon as the camp comes out that the fucking information is about the stupid ass white van, and that's it, that's the big ta-da moment. Fuck you. I've known about this white van forever. That's not new. That's not new. That's not something only the killer would know. And although I've spent most of my morning arguing about that on Twitter, which I blame the goose for, because she was like, come to Twitter. It'll be fun. You'll love Twitter. So I spent most of my morning arguing this stupid fact on Twitter. I think I understand why he changed it to X. I finally understand. Because I swear to God, I treat like people on there like they're my fucking exes. Like, that's how I feel about it. He's like, just come on here and just treat people like your exes. That's what it is. I now understand the philosophy behind it. He confessed in November of 2022. Those are not confessions. I'm not even entertaining that nonsense at this point. Now there's no amount of spin on what I've heard myself. Like, I'm not sitting in the courtroom, obviously, but I've gone above and beyond with my time to try to watch as many fucking channels as I can that are reporting on this. I've been reading all the reporters that are in the courthouse with mainstream media, even listening to that biased bullshit, and none of them have put me over to the guilty side. There's nothing that they've said. And I get it. I get that the van thing to a lot of people, like on mainstream media, like they're like, oh, these confessions are huge. So I give them I give them that because they don't know all of this kind of stuff. They don't know all the stuff that we know from social media. So I also take into consideration the jury doesn't know that. I'm not a juror. I'm not voting on this jury. But I can tell you, if I was voting on the jury, it would be a not guilty verdict at this point. There's no, I don't, unless there's got to, I mean, unless the defense totally blows something and they end up bringing out evidence that proves Rick knew something about the crime scene that only the killer would know, kind of thing. Unless there's some like huge switcheroo, there's nothing. I got nothing right now. I feel like anybody who was, I don't even know if I would be curious. Anybody who was, see, it's tough because I know the crowd that follows like this channel. So it's tough to get like an accurate reading on this poll. So if you are somebody who's lurking here, who has a channel that is very pro guilt, and I know some of you do, so it's okay. You don't have to talk. But on your channels, could you please do a poll that talks about almost like the poll I just did, number one. But number two, is there anybody who was not guilty beforehand? Because technically that's what everybody should have been, right? Everybody should have been not guilty, but you know, we're realistic here. We know what our brains are thinking. Anybody who was like, he's completely innocent, there's no way this fucking guy did it. And then all of a sudden they hear all this evidence, this, you don't see my air quotes, all this evidence from Nick McClelland and the prosecution, and they're like, holy shit, they got their guy. Anybody, anywhere. You want to do a poll on Twitter, you want to do a poll on in Facebook, do a poll somewhere. Somebody do a poll somewhere and find out if there's anybody who was adamant that this guy was innocent and walked away after prosecution closing and said, holy shit, they got the guy. Did anybody go from completely innocent to this? They got the right person? Still guilty, even more guilty. That's just stupid. Well, they never even bothered to execute any of the tests to prove malingering. And if it's true that there is a psychologist sitting on that jury, yeah, that's going to be interesting too, because they're going to be like, why didn't you go get the resources to give the test? All right, let's see what kind of where the poll's sitting. Fence to guilty. 9% went from the fence to guilty. That's an interesting one. Is there anybody that's in the chat right now that voted fence to guilty that is willing to say why? See, I was on Defense Diaries last night. Saw you last night. I then went to Andrew. You saw me everywhere. Huh, sweet Melissa? I was all over the place. I sometimes got shit going on my computer and then on my phone. There's 14% of the votes right now that are still on the fence. Dana's like, shit, I hit the wrong button. Okay, that's fine too. Anybody who voted that way, anybody who voted, they went from the fence to guilty, who's willing to say why. And if I missed the comment in chat, one of you mods just yell at me. Kate B. Hi, T. You voted fence to guilt. Hey, you did, Kate? Would you tell me why? I didn't think you were actually on the fence. You're not supposed to vote then, Kate. This one, if you may have missed that, you may have came in later. This one is only for fence sitters. I'm going to do another one for any of the other ones. I just want to know if anybody went from the fence to guilty. It's okay, Kate. And okay, so and make sure you guys in chat, like Kate's good peeps. Kate's somebody who thinks that he's guilty. I don't care that she thinks that. So make sure you guys just stay kind. She won't be an asshole to you, so please don't be an asshole to her. You know, I don't care if people think he's guilty. I want to be able to hear why. T, I think that they have evidence that he was being drugged. Yeah. I mean, he was involuntarily given Haldol, but then they said he was malingering. I don't know any. Does anybody think that's okay? Does anybody think that's okay that he's being given involuntary medication, an antipsychotic medication, but they think he's faking it? Like, that's fucking crazy. I would lose my mind if somebody was just fucking pumping me full of drugs. I think we talked about this before because I don't like medication to begin with. So if you gave me something that was going to fuck up my brain like that, oh my gosh. They gave it to him because the one guard said he was a pain in the ass. I'm just thinking, like, as the doctor, and we're going to get to that because what is it, Walla's boss, or they testify today, so then they talk about this Haldol too. Okay, so all my fence sitters, vote. Guys, if you're on the fence, vote. If you were on the fence before trial, vote. That's what I need. I need all those votes right now. Fence to guilty, fence to not guilty, or you're still on the fence, because I'm going to end this one and I'm going to start a new one. Okay, so I got anybody, just the fence sitters. I think this will be just kind of interesting to know. A lot of people from the fence went to the not guilty side. There are a few that are still sitting on the fence. Just the fence sitters. Okay, I'm going to have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, 270 votes. 75% fence to not guilty, 16% still on the fence, 8% fence to guilty. Okay, we're going to do another one. Now, this is for all of you. None of you fence sitters voting. You were a fence sitter. If you were a fence sitter, even if you're not now, don't vote. Okay. Okay. So this one is only for the people who'd already made up their mind before trial, which we all know he is absolutely 100% innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. So, yes. So this is only for the people who had made a decision prior. So your options are before trial to now, guilty and still guilty, guilty to not guilty. Ooh, that one's interesting. There's people who thought he was guilty and now think he's not guilty. And then not guilty and still not guilty. And not guilty to, yep, he absolutely fucking did it. There's 1%. Oh, that one's kind of jumping around. There's people who thought beforehand he was not the guy and now think he is. Anybody who wants to share their thought process on how their vote changed or how they thought one thing from before and then one thing now. Anybody who wants to share that? Reeker. Oh, Allison thought he was guilty, but now doesn't see it. That's interesting. Hi, Deetsy. Hold on. What's this one? You can hear okay. After you can hear okay. After the other end hangs up on those tapes, he wasn't alone. Like you could hear that in court. You could hear in court that he was, once the call was disconnected. Bob talked about that on the last call they played, before and after. Bob heard him say, okay. He said, okay, with a question mark. Ooh. I gotta go back and finish that then. Shane's all, sorry, my speech to text sucks. The video was manipulated way too much. It sickens me how people are not here. It sickens me how people are in support if the way Rick was being treated says a whole lot about them. We kind of talked about this a little bit yesterday, Heavy Metal, and I get it. I do. I mean, I don't think the involuntary medication is cool, but I struggle with this because, in my example that I continuously keep using, because he's a pretrial detainee, is Stephen Stearns. Like, I think that guy's a piece of garbage. I think that he did all kinds of nasty things to Maddie, and I think that he absolutely killed her. And so he's a pretrial detainee, and I really could give two shits what happens to him. And so I know, like, that makes me like that's not the right way to be, but I'm like, I don't give a shit what happens to Stephen Stearns. I think he's a piece of shit, and he's not convicted in a court of law. So I try to show grace on the opposite side of, like, with this case, because people who absolutely believe, I know, but people who are, like, people who believe that he did this, I know it's not the same thing. I know you guys are right. But I'm just saying, like, so I try to show grace on the other side of the situation, because if people really think that his intention was to go rape these two girls and he killed them, I mean, it's not so much different. The outcome isn't different. There's just more evidence, I guess, that supports Stephen Stearns being a piece of shit. But I get why people don't care. It's kind of my whole point is, like, I get why people don't care. Once you have it in your head that this person is garbage, like, could you imagine, and maybe there is, I don't know, not that I've seen, but could you imagine if there was a group of people advocating for Stephen Stearns, knowing what we know about him? And I'm just using him as an example. So we could do it like with Long Island serial killer. We could do it with him. How about Brian Walsh with his wife, Anna Walsh? There's different levels of, like, all of how I feel about these people. If something happens to Rex Heuermann in prison right now, how many of you guys care? I think that's kind of where I'm at. No, I am not Heavy Metal. No, I'm not. Not at all. I'm not at all. But because I think, I do, and I've seen his yucky photos, so I have a bigger issue. What about, like, Brian Koberger? He's actually, I think with this situation, it's actually very similar. There is a huge group of people who advocate for Brian Koberger's, they absolutely believe he did not do it. But for me on that one, like, I think they got the right guy, but I don't want anything to happen to him in prison, because I want them to be able to get that justice. I know it's, like, weird. So I don't know how to explain it. I just know I feel differently about all of them. So it kind of just is what it, you know what I mean? I don't know. Like, so I don't get mad at people for not caring as much, but I think it's weird that, like, he's a pretrial detainee put into solitary confinement for 13 months and given involuntary medication for a diagnosis they say he's faking. Like, those things don't make sense to me. And I would think that other people would be like, wait, that doesn't make sense. $70,000 tips, and not one of them was Richard Allen. Well, in fairness, one of them was literally Richard Allen. He tipped himself in. said, hey, I was there. Each case is different. I know, but I'm just not like, I don't ever want anybody to like walk away going like, oh, like she's just the defender of all things bad. I don't know. They're all different. And I think he's guilty. I think Brian Kohberger's guilty. I think Stephen Stearns is guilty. I think Rex Heuermann is guilty. I think, who else we got? I think Brian Walsh is guilty. I think Larry Milletti's guilty. I mean, there's all kinds of people that are pre-trial that I think are guilty. Some of them I don't really give a shit what happens to them. Other ones I don't want them hurt because I want them to go to trial so that it can be proven to the world of what they did. I don't know why I feel the way I feel, but it's just how I feel. They did. They took his coat. I took a ton of jackets, a ton of jeans, a ton of shoes, and none of them came back with any matches, any DNA matches to the girls whatsoever, or the crime scene. There was no evidence from the crime scene. No evidence from the crime scene back with Richard Allen. None in his car, none in his house, none on his clothes, nothing. So like there was this big push of like, you know, he wore the same clothes. He wore the same clothes. Well, where's the blood then? You got a muddy, bloody connection guy or person over here. Somebody said connection in chat. I read it. Do you know what I mean? Like, where's the clothes then? The black and the blue coat, yeah. And then now it becomes like, well, he had to have just gotten rid of it. But then how do you know he wore the same clothes? I don't know. It's very confusing to me because he's like, this is the jacket I wore right here. This blue Carhartt jacket that I'm holding in my hand. Here it is. This is the jacket I wore that day. Here it is. They go take it. They test it. Comes back with nothing. But now it's, nope, he's lying that that's the jacket he wore. But instead, maybe he's lying that he wore any fucking jacket. So it's like people only want to take what they want to take from the situation. They only take the bits and pieces. And I think that's like the most frustrating part for me at this point is listening to people like talk about these quote unquote confessions. Well, he confessed that he killed his wife, confessed that he killed his grandkids. He confessed that he killed his best friend. But those are not, they're not real. So how come nobody cares that he's making shit up? But if he says he killed the girls, that has to be true. I don't understand that mentality. Why is it like, oh, well, he's you know, some people are known to only partially confess and they put some of the details of their confession in there. Okay, prove to me that he's the type of person that does that. Prove to me that you even gave him any of these tests to prove that that's what he's doing. He never cheated on a cigarette, Sleuth investigates. He cheated on his wife. Never cheated on a cigarette. Never cheated on a cigarette. And, well, in my opinion, if the jury finds him guilty, he's still not guilty to me. I mean, in my opinion. And that's fair. That's how I feel about like Casey Anthony. They found her not guilty. Bitch is still guilty to me. I did cheat on my Dr. Pepper, Teresa. Remember when I was cheating on Dr. Pepper with 7-Up? It's true. It's true. And I had to put them on a different shelf. Well, at first I put them in a different fridge. Oh my gosh. Somebody should shoot me up with some antipsychotics. I cheated on my Dr. Pepper, you guys. I don't know if any of you guys were around at that time. But I went through like a time where I was really into 7-Up. And I felt really bad about the Dr. Pepper. So I put the 7-Up in a different fridge. So it couldn't see the Dr. Pepper, or the Dr. Pepper couldn't see it. I know, deeds. And so I can't believe somebody remembered that. It's true, though. I did cheat on my Dr. Pepper. And I felt terrible about it. I had to come on here and confess. Me and Dr. Pepper, we're good now, though. We're back together. We're good. I've not tried strawberry and cream. I did try that strawberry and cream one. So I would totally end up saying something like that, I guess, right? Like if I'm in the see, Francis is very pro guilt. I'm total opposite, Francis. I'm thinking the jury's going to see the nonsense that we have listened to the last 2 weeks and go, what the fuck? I think opposite. I actually think hung jury is what I think. Because of his Google searches? No. Don't be silly. I do know the Google searches. You know he was searching for a movie, right? Like they say that. Oh, fuck it. Don't go looking at my Google searches. I'm really screwed. I probably killed a lot of people. You really think hung? I do. I think our jury's probably gonna be hung. It's so bad. I'm such a child. Okay. Hold on. I'm gonna grab a soda. Don't argue with each other in chat. We know that there's people who hang out in the chat that are pro guilt. All you pro guilters, don't just be like, he's guilty because he's guilty. Just because he's guilty. Like, if you want to have a conversation about it, absolutely have a conversation about it. But don't just, and on the other side, don't be like, he's not guilty, he's not guilty, he's not guilty, he's not guilty. Like, I mean, let's talk like we're big kids here. We're big kids. Hold on, Charlie. We haven't gone through them here. We haven't gone through them yet. That's one of the things we're doing. But I'm going through. I haven't even got to anything for the case yet. So give me 1 second. Let me grab a fresh Dr. Pepper, and we'll do it. No, they didn't, Reeker. Not the fake ones. No, they didn't do the fake ones. The one that Coffin Daffer did? Please tell me they didn't do it. No. Okay, hold on. Let's pull up some. Let's get some stuff going. Okay, so we left off yesterday. The state technically hadn't rested yet. They were going back and forth. They ended up playing another call, and on redirect. So let's go back. We're going to go back in time to yesterday, and then we can also talk about the Google searches because those come into play. Those come into play yesterday in a very, very strange way. I don't even understand the legal route that was taken for those to make it to the jury. I'm very confused by that. I got to go listen to Bob and Andrea try to explain it to me how they even got these Google searches into evidence. Those Google searches wrap it up. I hope you're not talking about the fake Google searches. There's two Google searches we're talking about here. There's the ones that go into evidence, quote unquote, from trial yesterday, and then there's also a list of fake Google searches that were put out on social media, and then people are apparently taking them and thinking they're real. But I mean, the post was known to be fake, so I don't know. I don't know. Andrew said she didn't know either. They claimed that they could because of Vito's past testimony, but she found nothing that would allow that. Well, I don't even understand. Okay, thank you, Francis. Okay, so we're talking about the ones from court. I think they viewed them. They should have viewed them yesterday because they were out yesterday. I still don't understand this Indiana girl. It doesn't make sense because there's no way to cross-examine Vito than on the on on the what the search criteria and stuff was. This is the 13. I want 12. Hold on. Hold on, I'm just pulling up the articles. I don't get that. That's never been. That's not how evidence gets put in. It's like, oh well, somebody testified last week, so we're just gonna go ahead and stick this in. Goose, you want Goose to have? Goose needs a link. Do you want to come up, Goose? I'll send you the link. I don't know if you want to. Just let me know if you want to, and I'll send you the link. Okay, well, we're still going to go in order. So we're going in order from where we left off yesterday. So you guys in chat, just stay on track here. We're gonna get through everything from today too. Oh, okay. If you want a link, let me know. Yeah, Lynn, I was actually talking to somebody about this yesterday. I don't have any idea. I don't have any idea. No, you want to come on, you have something to talk about from today, but we're staying in order. So we're not to wherever, if something you're talking about is from today, we're not there. The Google searches came out yesterday though, so I don't know with it. I don't know what exactly you're speaking of. But now I gotta try to find this damn article from yesterday. I know you keep saying an hour ago, but what I don't understand is the defense isn't putting Google searches on as evidence. The prosecution put Google searches in yesterday. So are you hearing something from mainstream media that's getting you confused with something that happened yesterday? Kate B, it's already been done. Go to All Eyes channel. It's already done. Already done. Easily. All right. All right, give me just a second. I'm going to stop paying attention to chat real quick because I need to be able to find what we need to talk about. And I lost my article. You got to go to bed? What? Okay. Here we go. Bowen testified that he did not collect video of the alleged car until 2022 and only shows screenshots. No, 10. Bob is very, very much that he's going to be found not guilty. They think he's absolutely been railroaded, and that the way that the state has done, the way that the state has gone about presenting their case is bullshit. I am a little bit. Hold on, you guys. Sorry. What's okay? Sorry, I had a tiny human who needed me. Okay. Why doesn't want to load? Okay. Scott Peterson, OJ, Casey Anthony, Tiny Humans take priority. Absolutely, they're my favorite. Kyla Russell reported no third-party suspects will be allowed. Criminality. Oh, Jesus Christ. What? The defense in the Delphi double murders trial will not be permitted to include Odinism as they present their case. No third-party suspects. More incoming. Oh, she ruled on their motion to be able to bring it in. Oh, jeez. Not really surprised. We knew that she was going to deny that. I thought they were saying like no third-party suspects. So is there some type of commentary about the Brad Weber stuff? That's what I'm really trying to figure out now with the way that the state has brought in a specific witness and how that's going to work. Hi, Travis. Where's Travis? Do you have another comment in here that it's not popping up? Oh, here we go. In Texas, we have people scheduled for execution based on shaken baby testimony, determined to be flawed and faulty testimony, but courts won't intervene. It's pretty hard to prioritize this or read. Where'd the other one go? I agree. Collectively, people tend to make a snap decision on whether they like or dislike a defendant and assume guilt or innocence, and everything for or against that position is horrible or great. Okay, so Travis, you've been listening, and as an attorney, you've been listening. I'm not letting you on, Francis. No, I'm not letting you on right now. So Travis, as an attorney, what do you think about the state's case? Because you want to talk about something I'm not talking about yet. You keep trying to make me talk about stuff that I'm not talking about. I want to know what Travis had to say about that. Okay, so let's go back over here to Kyla. She doesn't say anything more. I'm curious about the whole Brad Weber situation. Francis, are you serious? Wow. Maybe you do need to go to bed. I don't know if you quite understand. He's actually already in jail. Anyway, I'm not going to do that. So I don't. I've always been super cool to you. I don't know why you're being a dick, but I can tell you right now, I don't feel good enough to deal with it. So I don't get like people are okay. People are okay hanging out here and then telling me what I am, but then don't watch. Then I nobody's ever begged you to be here, and I've always been fucking kind to some of these people who just come in and they're just assholes because I don't do what they want me to do. I think the front end goal in these cases for me is shift focus from attempting to solve the status of proceedings, what's happening, follow trial, and listen to evidence. All right. Oh, this is just getting more fun. More fun by the day, I tell you. No, it is not. There is no death penalty on the table. The people are really just going to come in and just be assholes because that's what they want to do. So, unfortunately, for anybody who is new to the channel, what that makes me have to do is to make it so that when they come in with their second and third and fourth accounts that aren't subbed to the channel, they won't be able to comment. But it also hurts the people who are trying to come in here and actually have civilized discussion because now I'm going to turn it on to subscribers only. And so for all of you that are you know, ones that are coming in here wanting to actually have that civilized discussion and are new to the channel, you won't be able to talk for 20 minutes. And for that, I apologize. But I really hope that you understand where I'm coming from, that I don't have a choice if I want to actually get through a fucking live. You know, I expect it from just random trolls, but not from people that I've gotten along with for a long time. I don't know why they have to be assholes. I expect the idiot trolls to come in. But I've welcomed you to the channel, and I've been nothing but kind and gracious to your opinions, whether they agree with mine or not. I don't know why, but I don't get that. But it's fine. It is what it is. I'm gonna get back on track here because they're not gonna derail what we're actually here to talk about, which is the fucking trial. Okay. See. All right. So this is day 2. Let's go back to day 12, and I am a total Constitution sympathizer. Thank you, Susan. Okay, so we were talking about, so we ended with Harshman, and when they went to redirect, Nick comes back on the stand and he wants to talk about another phone call that he wasn't able to play. It's essentially the same thing as we've heard, where Richard Allen is talking to his wife, and is one of the things that I kind of picked up on was his wife had brought him this Bible, but it didn't say like Holy Bible on the front of it, so he didn't actually believe that it was a Bible. And so I found this really interesting because if you guys remember, a couple of the guards were talking about that he was like flushing, he was flushing his Bible, or he was trying to eat his Bible. That's what it was. He was trying to eat his Bible. I'm I'm wondering if that had something to do with the fact that he didn't think it was real. I don't know if it even matters. It's just something that I thought about. So they play the other one. Then I think right when we were getting off, they were having this argument over this video from Cass County that Nick wanted to get into evidence, and the defense was like, "That's not in discovery. We've never even seen it. Nobody's talked about this." So she let the defense watch it, and the defense was like, "Yeah, no, we object to this being played. It has no value to what we're talking about here." And Gull was like, "Well, now I'm gonna have to go watch it so I can figure out like legally if it should or should not be played." Well, and the only reason that Nick wanted to play the video, which was weird, because Nick wanted to play this Cass County video to show that Richard Allen was like yelling at the guards in Cass County jail. I mean, I understand his point, but that there's a legal issue on the side of Rosie's the one who made the claim about about like nothing being wrong like after him leaving, and so he was trying to discredit Brad Rosie, an attorney, instead of actually trying to impeach the witness. So you can't really impeach the other attorneys. The most important part behind this is because in Nick's, if you guys remember, in Nick's motion in limine, one of the things that he like made very clear that he did not want was for the defense to be able to be mean or talk about him and his team. Remember, he was like, I don't want anybody, I don't want them to like, the defense can't say anything about me, and they can't be mean to me. But he's literally trying to bring in evidence to discredit another attorney when the attorney doesn't matter. I know that people don't like the defense attorneys and whatever. You can not like the defense attorneys. I can not like the prosecutors. It is what it is, but it still doesn't have anything to do with Rick or Rick's guilt. So she ultimately goes back and she watches the video, and then she comes out and she actually agrees with the defense, and she's like, no, we're not playing the video. So I'm like, wait, you told them that they can't be mean to you, but you're like really wanting to try to show the jury that you don't like Rosie. I was like, okay, that's just silly. And then the situation with the Google searches, which I am still confused by, but apparently there's something new about Google searches from today. So I don't know what that is. We haven't got there yet. The Google searches from yesterday, so I'm going to show you guys those, and we'll talk about why I think this is ridiculous. But I don't know how they're putting in evidence without having a person on the stand that is there to testify to the evidence, how they retrieved the evidence, and how they like what search criteria was like. There's no way to question this witness on this stuff, so it becomes kind of confusing on where and how they even found this information. So Vito is supposedly, I guess, from when he took the stand before, they're saying like it's okay that they bring in this evidence now. I don't legally get that. I mean, Travis is the attorney in chat, maybe he can explain it because I don't understand it. So they just hand over this basically a piece of paper that just says, here's his Google searches. Here's what they were. This is all from yesterday. We're still talking about yesterday. We're going to finish yesterday, then we'll go to today. I don't know if one of the people in chat was saying there's some new Google search stuff about today. I don't know what that is yet. So full disclosure, the document from Google didn't indicate the parameters of the search warrant. And Allen searched the news coverage of the case on several occasions. didn't really stand out to Max, the reporter who's actually talking about this online, didn't really stand out to Max because a lot of the searches had to do with the Delphi case, but they lived in Delphi, so would people in Delphi be looking up the Delphi case? And if there's any updates? I don't know if he does a great job. Did anybody, I have not watched the ends of Andrea's or Bob's or anybody's technically on, did anybody do a good job of writing down the dates? Sleuthy, are you here? Did you happen to do that? Writing down the dates, times, anything that was on this documentation for when things were searched? Or is it all very generic, like April of 2022? Did they give, on this documentation of these Google searches, did they give us like dates, times, anything along those lines of when these things were searched? So here's some of the things that stood out to Max. That's why I'm looking for I'm looking for more like detail, if there was more detail to these. Okay, so man held hostage by a teen, a movie about a man being held against his will, 65 of the best kidnapping and hostage movies ever made, searched about shooting ranges in May of 2022, or 2021. Sorry, I said the wrong date. In April of 2022, what is the most horrifying thing I can watch? Does Andrea go through these last night? If Andrea went through them last night, send me the timestamp of when she went through them, and I'll just play hers. Just send me the timestamp of when she went through it. Only the media saw it, so she didn't get to see it then. Oh, okay. So he says, like, should I die now in April of 2022? What is the most horrifying thing I can watch? What is the most insidious thing I can watch? In June of 2023, he searched most fucked up thing to watch on Netflix. That's got to be a typo because in June of 2023, he was in jail. So that's got June of 2022, I'm going to go with. Most fucked up thing I can watch on Netflix. You can read into these as much or as little as you want. There was other ones. There are other ones that were out there. What reporter had the better ones then? Because there's other ones that have to do with, son of a biscuit eating bulldog. That's what I was saying. Like some of these are like if you go in and you search for something, and why I said a lot of these have to do with like a movie, because he's searching a movie, and so I know I saw a better list somewhere. JB, thank you. Because like a lot of them, this is why I was talking about the search criteria, because he's searching for a movie, and you can tell as the movie is like, or as he's like going into Google and he does the first search, like how it's taking him to like other searches. And because there's no search criteria that we're aware of, and maybe there is on the exhibit that's put into evidence, it could easily be like how it's, you click on a different button. So yeah, it's like how it goes. So what's the actual search? What was actually searched and what other ones come up as you're searching it? Let me see. Okay, so this source from IndyStar has some of the dates different than Max did. This is, once again, I'm going to try to not get pissed off that we can't just watch the damn thing. Hey, Cold Truth. So here, months before an interview with police on October 13th that led to Richard Allen's arrest later that month, Allen was searching online for disturbing movies to watch and frequently looked up the Delphi murders, according to a later analysis of his search history. by the Indiana State Police. Okay, so frequent is very different than what Max said. Alan did a Google search for deeply disturbing and terrifying movies on Netflix. That same day, he searched Texas elementary school shooting suspect. When was Uvalde? When did that happen? Does anybody remember the date? The next month, he searched for the most fucked up thing to watch on Netflix right now. Yes, I hope your daddy's doing well too. So I'm like, this is what's the big. As an attorney, as I've been saying for weeks in this chat, if they have confessions only the killer would know, it would be devastating for the defense in these kinds of cases. Uvalde was May 24th of 2022. So he's searching for the suspect when this is happening. Okay, that okay. You remember we have Keegan Kline who was searching Sandy Hook victims. Texas elementary school shooting suspect. The next month he searched for the most fucked up thing to watch on Netflix right now. In mid-April, don't look at my Netflix history. Don't look at my Netflix history. And he also talks about in his interviews that he watches a lot of Dateline and stuff with his wife. In mid-April of that year, he made similar searches for insidious and disturbing things to watch on Netflix. Also that month, on April 17th, Alan looked up Should I Die Now? Alan has a history of struggling with depression and anxiety, and he was placed on suicide watch in prison. On October 2nd, weeks before his arrest, Alan clicked a link for 65 plus best kidnapping and hostage movies ever made. So like it comes up and it's like, hey, here's a recommendation. Here's 65 kidnapping and hostage movies, because he had searched for that kind of stuff for the movies. According to the ISP analysis conducted in December of 2022, that same day, Alan was also entering the following searches: movie about a man being held against his will. He's trying to figure out the name of a fucking movie. Man held hostage by a teen. And The Stalker 2012. I don't know what that one is. Is maybe the same thing, or does it just keep going down this clicking rabbit hole? If we had a testimony, we would know. An apparent reference to a film about a mentally unstable homeless man who tries to save his friends from drug dealers. How does this matter? Alan searched Delphi Murders. He had searched Delphi Murders update 5 times in the first week of August 2022. When was somebody tell me the dates again for the Wabash River search? That was tied to Delphi. People were out there reporting Keegan Kline, the Delphi killer. The Clam Jam. He'd have to be driving by that along with his wife. There's another movie that he had searched. I'm going to go find the source that I was looking at yesterday, because I still don't feel like this isn't the full list that I was looking at. The list I had was better. Come on, fucking thing. I don't know why it won't load. There we go. Here we go. So August 2022 was searching for Delphi murder updates, Texas elementary school shooting. See this one, that nobody has the same dates. How fucking weird is this? Nobody has the same dates for these searches. Texas elementary school shooting, disturbing and terrifying things on Netflix. More searches for the Delphi murder update and just Delphi in general. In October of 2022, best kidnapping and hostage movies, Man Held Against His Will, a movie, Man Held Hostage by His Teen, and the movie Killing of a Sacred Deer. That's what it was. That's a movie, Killing of a Sacred Deer. In May of 2020, don't quote me on any of these dates because everybody's dates are different. Delphi Murders, news stories about Delphi, rifle ranges, and applied ballistics. April 2022, Should I Die Now? Most disturbing movie ever. What is the darkest thing on Netflix? Most fucked up things on Netflix to watch. But nobody has the same date range. It's so fucking stupid. But they should have had somebody on the stand to be able to talk to about this, saying, okay, what did you do to search? What criteria did you put in? What were you specifically looking for? Did you, and then the defense can come back up and be like, okay, were these, actual typed in searches, or was it a link that took you from here to here? Yeah, it's the range. He could have been looking for the movie Hostage. He obviously couldn't figure out what movie he was looking for. He was just like, there was a movie about whatever. But his searches, a ton of them have to do with movies. So I don't know. I don't see the jaw dropping anything here. Tell me if you do. I guess I still have a poll open, don't I? I should close this poll. Let's get rid of the poll. Let's see. Okay. If you want to vote on this poll, do it now because I'm going to close it. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So before trial to now, there was 69% of this chat thinks that he was not guilty and still believes he's not guilty. There are 17% of this chat that thought he was guilty before and now don't think he is. There's 9% of this chat that thinks that he was guilty and hell yeah, he's still guilty. And then there's 3% of the chat that went that he wasn't guilty that now thinks he is. I'm curious about the ones that changed their mind. Rex Urban searches are way worse. Oh god. Oh my god, Rex Urban searches, Brian Walsh's searches. I mean, this is, I don't know. I once again, I'm not a juror, so maybe is a jury member sitting there going, "Oh my gosh, this is crazy! I can't believe he's searching for these types of movies." If I Should Die is a series. Oh jeez. Well, see, like that, wouldn't that be like? Wouldn't you have like a veto sitting on the stand, and then a defense attorney going, "Okay, are you aware that If I Should Die is a TV series on Netflix? Are you aware that this is the movie Hostage or whatever the hell it is?" Like, why isn't there somebody on the fucking stand to talk to about this? How does that I don't understand that. How they're just putting evidence, just, here you go, jury, here's just evidence, but nobody gets to talk about it? My searches are worse, Andy. My searches I'd be screwed. And if you went to my Netflix history, I mean, shit, like, true crime is like at an all-time high of viewership right now. They're making, they made Jeffrey Dahmer, what do you call it? Not the reenactment, but the story of Jeffrey Dahmer. They're making one for, I don't know, but Charlie Hunnam's going to be in it. That's the only reason I even know about it. But it's going to be for, I don't think it's going to be for Gacy. It's going to be for, God, it's another serial killer. Why can't I think of who it is? You guys will probably know. Charlie Hunnam's going to be in a new one. See, this would be me doing Google searches. Yeah, thank you. Yes. You guys all know. See, we just had the Menendez brothers. We have Making of a Murderer. There's the Watts story that's out there. I mean, Dateline, 48 hours. This is not new. So does somebody care? I don't know if a jury member sits there and goes, this is crazy because he's sitting here as a defendant. He's not like somebody who lives far away and knows nothing about Delphi. And I mean, like us, you know what I mean? He lives in Delphi, so why wouldn't he be searching it? You just watched the Son of Sam documentary. I don't know. So if this is what people think is damning, I don't know. But supposedly more came out today. We're going to keep going and we're going to see. I haven't seen anything about that today yet. Okay, so the defense ends up calling two people. So right after that, the prosecution rests. They let Harshman off the stand. They rest, and the defense starts. They have two witnesses ready to go. Now, a lot of these witnesses, we know who they are, which is kind of interesting too. So the first one they bring up is Cheyenne. We've talked about Cheyenne on the channel. Cheyenne is the one who went to the bridge with her, met her friend there and was taking pictures and then shared those pictures on social media. She said that she knows when she got there because she had received a phone call. She knows when she was walking different parts of the trail based on when she was talking to these people on the phone. So in this one, the defense's first witness, Cheyenne Mill, she's also a coroner. No, she works at a mortuary. Let me see if I can bring her up so you guys can see what I'm talking about with her. Yeah, she's a mortician. Like how many? It's just weird that there's so many people connected to the case that end up going on to be like morticians. Like, would that be a damning piece of evidence? Imagine the kind of crap that they look up on Google. Yeah, note to self, holy shnikes, do not watch true crime or scary stuff, and stay out of Carroll County. I'll pick stay out of the county. I'm right. Like, yeah, shit. Like, don't be watching anything. Like only like Little Rascals. That's all you're allowed to like watch. Come on. Everything just wants to go slow today. Probably because it just feels how slow I feel. Like my brain is just like, it doesn't want to do. Ooh, that's yummy. I want that, Susan. Can I have that? I need to find me one of those. Hold on, it's loading. This dang Prezi's gotten so big it just doesn't hardly function on my computer anymore. And it's not even done. My goal was to have it done by the end of trial, and I just don't. I just don't think it's going to happen. Hey, go. State didn't meet their burden for me personally. That's where I'm at. Scroll up on that. It's timestamps for Andrea. Okay, thank you. I'll try to get to the first one, and it's close to the 12-minute mark. I think the second is at 3:57:43. Okay. Well, maybe that'll work. Why the dang Prezi's loading. 3:57. Dang, she was live for almost 6 hours. She's crazy, and then she's like getting like 4 hours of sleep. Now it wants to freeze. Of course it does. Am I frozen for you guys? Because my computer's frozen. Shit. I can't even tell if you guys are going to tell me if I'm frozen because my screen won't go back to where you guys are. There we go. Was I frozen? Am I frozen? I'm back now. Yeah, no, disagree. Okay, 357.
See that as a disadvantage, so I'm kind of okay with it in that sense. I don't think it would have bothered me, so I don't know that I would have noticed. But yeah, maybe I'll start paying attention and see if I can detect a trend there. TNT 34 SRV RIP. Do you think the defense will have additional substantial evidence of the mental cruelty and torture that RA endured? Your coverage of this trial is remarkable and award-winning. Well, thank you. I don't know that it has won any awards, but I certainly do appreciate the acclaim that so many of you are giving me in the comments. I really do appreciate it. I'm starting to like this. I mean, like people wave to me on the street. I leave court and I'll, like chit chat, and people will be walking by on the side of, oh, hi, Andrea, watch your stream. It's like amazing. It's this very,
I didn't take this
very
time.
cool, very cool phenomenon in line. People recognize me, come say
hi. Go to the 12-minute mark first.
So it is. It's very cool, and it's wonderful to know that people want, so they don't get to keep them. I did notice that the judge did instruct them that it was just there to be an aid, and that it wasn't to be admitted. But I don't recall her saying anything to the effect that in the event of a conflict in your perception of what is said on the audio recording and what is said in the transcript, that it is the audio recording that is the evidence. That's what you need to defer to. And so that's a situation. It doesn't come, I've never seen it happen like this, where they just hand it out as an aid like this. But I think that does happen. That's not like super unheard of. But I have seen situations where there has been both what they did is they admitted the audio recording as the evidence, and then treated the transcript as a demonstrative. And in that case, the jury got a similar instruction like this, that, you're getting these two things. This is really intended to help you. This is not something that you're supposed to be considering really for the fact. So in the event of like if you don't have a memory, if your memory fails, or if you find a conflict there, you think that the audio says something different than the transcript says, basically, then you need to rely on your perception. Like the transcript, you can't give that greater weight just because it's there in a written page. And that always does concern me a little bit, is just because it's hard to hear audios, but it's easy to read a transcript. And so it's just the potential for suggestiveness there, and the possibility that the jury puts a little bit too much weight on this written word that may or may not be what the jury thinks is being said on those recordings.
Okay, so this is about the.
So that was our process.
That part was about the audios, and then them giving a transcript of that audio to the jury, but not giving it to them as actual evidence. So that's different. Okay.
So they admitted Exhibit 313. This was a zip drive that contained all 7 of the recordings. So then at this point, Mr. Rosie, he agreed that there was a stipulation as to foundation, but he argued that there were a series of phone calls that occurred on April the 3rd of 2003. Basically, 3 of them that happened right in a row. At 3:12 a.m., the first call, Mr. Allen called his parents.
Okay.
Janice and
this is Indiana Girl. Is this what you wanted me to be listening to? Was this part? You can't. I hit him on the channel. Can't come back with his real account. You could just block the fake account, though. Not doing that shit. I'm trying to figure out Indiana Girl. I thought we were talking about the Google searches. So I'm trying to figure out what part I'm supposed to be listening to here. Hi, Grin. Sup, girl? Hashtag feed Bob. Miss ya. Okay. So it's got to be right before it then.
That would give the defense some time. Able to, I got a lot of notes here. I was able to quite get through everything, and I checked a couple of the places where I thought it might have been, but I didn't see it there, at least not on a quick glance. So I didn't really get a chance to dig in with where this came up. But what I do recall this coming up. And the objection that the defense had raised was that the photos were produced. They didn't have any timestamps. These are apparently photos that don't have metadata, which is a little unusual. But so the defense had argued that without the timestamps, they don't know when these are taken, and the state had offered them for the purpose of trying to show what Mr. Allen looked like before the time of the murders. So I remember Mr. McCain responding to this objection and saying, "Oh, the timestamps don't matter. We're just offering them to show what he looked like before the murders." Well, then the timestamps matter because you're making a representation about the time frame that they represent. So that one, apparently was just taken under submission at the time. Maybe it was rejected, and they're just trying again. I couldn't hunt that down on short notice, but I do recall that little detail. So Mr. McClelland said that there had been an issue about the state providing the dates. He had a conversation with Officer Cecil, the one who's the later of the cell phone extraction guys.
I feel you, Grin. I feel you.
That the state has used, and he said it's going to take a long time to extract it, so the state moved to just go ahead and admit it without the dates. He cited a civil case from 2023 that just had something to do with admitting pictures in a civil case, just kind of a little different than admitting pictures in a criminal case. But he argued it was relevant to show what he looked like before the offense, and so they said that they would address it after lunch. That would give the defense some time to look at it, some time to read it. I'm not sure what we're reading on these photos, but give the defense some time to.
Miss Mala, if you figure out the answer to that, let me know, because I need that.
Consider that. And so McClelland said if it was fine, they would just take that back up before they rest. The state then said that they intended to bring in the phone calls, that there were 7 that they intended to play. The foundation for these phone calls had already been stipulated to, so he was just going to move to admit them ahead of time so they can go ahead and play them, and it would be seamlessly, and they didn't have to go through one by one. Here's the foundation for this, play it. Here's the foundation for this, play it. Even though they kind of ultimately ended up doing, not what they did was not really that different from that anyway. We'll get to it. So they also had transcripts that they had prepared that at least ostensibly record the contents of these phone calls. And so they wanted the jury to be able to have these transcripts, not in evidence, not as pieces of evidence, but as aids, so that they would be able to follow along as they listened to the audio recordings. So that was allowed. Okay. The judge basically.
Let me try Fluffy Bunny's time here, which was, oh shit, I had it clicked on so that I would know where to go. Fluffy Bunny. I think she said 25 minutes.
Officer Vito about these certain Google searches.
Here they are.
Wallace notes. And we're gonna hear some more of the stuff in these recordings. So the judge then on her own accord, brings up Exhibit 289 and said that this is a document the state had offered, that there is no additional argument. I was also with this one trying to look back and find out where it was because I do vaguely remember this coming up. This relates to that FUJAC account, this email account. And at some point there was some testimony about it. And I couldn't locate it on short notice to
Jack AO.
Hammer in, remind me where exactly this had come up when the state had offered Exhibit 289. So Ms. Auger, but it had gotten I think an authentication objection. So Ms. Auger responds to this that the business record certification provided by Google doesn't include any information about the state, the document that the state is trying to admit. She says the state is trying to admit a police report, which I believe is, she indicates is from Officer Vito, about these certain Google searches, and the Google record contains no such searches, so it doesn't authenticate what they're trying to do. There is a lot to unpack here. The state wants to admit Vito's police report. In and of itself, this is a problem. You don't. And we've talked about this. This is not only hearsay, police report written out of court. This is not only hearsay. This is testimonial hearsay. This is like hearsay turned up to 11 because it implicates his confrontation rights. When it's hearsay that is made for the purpose of prosecuting somebody, for the purpose of trying to build a case against them, and it pretty much always includes statements to or by law enforcement in the course of an investigation, then the Fifth Amendment right attaches. It's pretty unequivocal, and the witness has to be there. So we did have Vito testify, And so then you kind of run into the issue of, well, you know, if he's going to testify, then the best evidence is his report, is his testimony. It's
Right.
not his report. You just have him on the stand and testify to whatever would be in his report. So it's this very strange situation where they're not calling Vito to testify to this stuff. Apparently, they just want to get his report in. So I tried. I saw Vito and I found his testimony, and I was trying to go back through here, and
I don't recall anything from
just
being
really couldn't
make it so he
really
didn't have
couldn't
to
find
testify.
it on a real short notice. Just real quick, gonna see if maybe I can find it. They were at Exhibit 212 back at this point. Yeah. I'm just not seeing where this happened.
All right.
I got my notes here for Dave Vito. He just talked about the search warrant execution,
Uh-huh.
and he brought in all of the photos that they took during the search warrant execution. So this is where we saw, this is where we saw the car. This is where we're able to see the car and see the rims that they're saying are so unique. And like, no, I mean, they're not, maybe not standard, but they're definitely not unique. They're just run-of-the-mill upgrade wheels for a sport package. And we also saw the keepsake box, the Winchester. I remember this in particular because they had taken that bullet out of the keepsake box to photograph it, and Ms. Auger, made the point to question whether that was professional. Was that unprofessional for them to photograph it that way? She was doing it in a very sing-song voice because it's fun when you catch the state being very hypocritical like that. So yeah, I went through all this, and I just couldn't find anywhere that this came up. Vito's report, they had him on the stand, but now they want to just admit his report separately over something. I don't know that it has won any awards, but I certainly do appreciate the acclaim that so many of you are giving me in the comments. I really do appreciate it. I'm starting to like this. I mean, like people wave to me on the street. I leave court and I'll, like chit chat, and people will be walking by on the side of, oh, it's just this very cool. So it is. It's very much about the case. It's one. Certainly, thank you. I endured additional TNT 34. I'm kind of okay with it in that sense.
This is not.
I really. Oh, hi, Andrew. So it is. It's information. I think read always be more appreciates, be like it. I think when you retain your conscience, or do you? These are all possible. Like that to the opinion of to anyone, any other. So that he's very much laid this foundation of, at the time there was somebody else. There was somebody else there, and so it's possible that that's Dr. Martin. It's possible that it is a defense expert that they got, early on, that they were able to get in.
She doesn't name them. Okay. All right. All right, that's okay. Well, I mean, she's still telling you guys the legal side of how it doesn't make any freaking sense that they're just able to hand over this document. Maybe it's an Indiana thing. You could just say, well, somebody talked about that they did this. I don't understand it. I don't understand how they can get that into evidence. It just doesn't make sense to me. There's no explanation of what they even did to get it, or what the criteria that they searched was. How did they prove that they're his searches and not his wife's? There's nobody to testify to any of that. It's okay, Indiana girl. I love you anyway. So, okay. Now we'll go back to what we were talking about with what's her name? Cheyenne. See if we can get this to work yet. No, of course not. Why would we have that work? Why would it work? I don't need any of that anymore. I think this is what's causing a lot of my problems, is that trying to get this damn thing to load. Anyway, so Cheyenne is the one who says she goes there. We talked about her a lot with the fact that when she was leaving, she had supposedly said that she saw two people sitting in the car together. It was rumored that it was not Becky. I'm sorry. It was rumored that it was Derek and Tara. So she's the first witness that the defense calls. They're essentially calling her because she physically was on the bridge taking photos while the state is claiming the girls would have been being murdered across the creek in their time frame, right? Up to 3:57 is their big time frame. So the defense's first witness was Cheyenne Mill, formerly Cheyenne Ingalls, blah, 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 and her best friend went hiking on February 13th, the day that the teen girls, Abby Williams and Libby, were reported missing. Mill recalled she and her friend passed, and this is something I'd never heard before, an overweight man on the Monon High Bridge, and he did not greet them. Later on, or a few minutes after 3:49 p.m., February 13th, 2017, Mill and her friend took photos for Snapchat. No, it wasn't a stipulation because the defense objected to it. Passed an overweight man. He did not greet them. Would not have been Derek. Because they see Derek later. So she would go, that's the guy I saw on the bridge. Oh, Law Junkie, we're happy you're here too. So 2 weeks after walking on the bridge, Mill had talked to police in the parking lot of Indiana Beach Amusement Park. She'd reached out to police on February 14th, after she'd learned the girls' bodies had been found, but didn't talk with them until February 28th. She was one of them that we were like, they didn't even bother to go talk to her for 2 weeks. She told police that she never saw or heard anything strange or saw anyone in the woods that surround the bridge and its trail. However, she saw a lady and a man who were frantic and had a moped and were suspicious. A fucking moped? Thank you, Travis. Mill also shared her photos. 6 months later, Mill said the FBI contacted her and asked for her mother's phone. Mill was told that her phone did ping from the bridge on February 13th, 2017. Mill also said that the photos she posted were circulated, noting that she was blasted out by people online. This case has been blown completely out of proportion online, she testified. Well, apparently nobody bothers to ask her on because it doesn't have anything to do with the case. There was somebody who created an entire conversation with Cheyenne. It was all fake. And they put it online, and then Cheyenne comes out and she's like, I didn't have that conversation. That's all fake. So, yeah, a lady and a man who were frantic and on a moped. I'm curious if we get a different report from another agent or from another news source that says where she saw them. Eventually, she wrote a letter to police, quote unquote, about everything. That letter was then introduced as evidence, and Mill testified that the police showed up at her house after she sent the letter. They asked a question about the friend she'd walked with on the trail. The prosecution asked Mill about what she told police February 28, 2017. She said she told police that she passed a man with what she thought was a camera around his neck. Okay, we'll be able to figure out who this is, right? She also clarified details about where she was on the bridge and when. The jury asked Mill these questions. Did you see or hear any vehicles on the road under the bridge? Mill noted that the former railroad bridge goes over water, but the very end does not. I mean, so the southeast side has the has that private drive that we've talked about. Did it take you 6 minutes to walk across? Mill said it took about 10 minutes. That's an interesting question. Now, Lynn, I think McCain is cameraman. That's my thought. McCain is cameraman. The second defense witness was Teresa Liebert. Guys, remember, Teresa Liebert is the one who lives at the end of the private drive. She is the one who talked to police and had the sketch that we all, if I can get my Prezi to load, then I'll be able to show you guys this. Let's see. Okay. This is Cheyenne. So here's the Cheyenne where she says, it's really me. And then here's the potentially fake Cheyenne. Oh, shoot. I didn't let that load. Here's the potentially fake Cheyenne conversation. I don't know. Either she's lying that it was fake and it was real, or it was fake. I don't know. I never went to figure out which one was what. This is one of the photos that she took when she was on the bridge of when she's out there with her friend. So we kind of talked about this the other day too. Okay, so that's Cheyenne. There's just some screenshots that pertain to Cheyenne, so you guys can look at that in there if you want to. Let's go to the. Oh, sorry, wrong one. It's gonna be over here. So this picture, this sketch. This is the sketch that Teresa Liebert had. What recent cases do you have for reference that are similar to this case? I think false confession cases are the closest fit. Would like others' thoughts on that if you have 10 minutes at the end break. Oh, that's a good question. I will try to remember that. I cannot promise I will because my brain just is not at full capacity of functioning. The Dayquil is, I need another dose. She's doing a massive timeline. I don't know. We have a pre-trial timeline and a post-trial timeline. So I don't know. Maybe that question's not for me. Travis, just remind me, and I'll happily do it. Okay, so Teresa Liebert, she said she lived near Brad Weber. Oh, I was going to show you guys that on the map. I'll show you where she lives. Most people probably know this information. I'm just making sure that we cover it so that anybody who doesn't know or doesn't remember, because there's a lot to it, and just want to make sure you guys, if you have any questions, that you guys know where everything is. And I'm so sorry, my computer is running. After my live today, I'm gonna have to restart it and see if it has any updates. Okay, so Teresa is down here. This is where where the Lieberts live. Right here is the private drive. Here's the end of the bridge. Goes over to Weber's. You see that? So Teresa's here. Teresa had stated in her statement to law enforcement that she saw this like weird dude that she'd never seen before hanging out by her street, and she said there was no reason for him to be there. She'd never seen him before, it's never seen him again. So she lived near Brad Weber, who police had questioned in their investigation of the girl's death. She recalled what she described as a quote-unquote strange occurrence on the morning before the girls were reported missing. A man standing near the mailboxes at the driveway into the homes of herself and Weber. She also saw a parked car. In cross-examination, Liebert said she'd never seen the man before or since that day. The jury asked her, could you have seen a high school student near the mailbox? Liebert said no. So here she allowed the jurors to hear about Allen's Google searches and denied letting the jury see photos of him before he was arrested. Gollett read a bit of the third-party suspects, but hasn't set a timeline of whether she will rule on them. So let me go and see. Let's just see really quick if we can catch a time when Andrea is talking about. I'd like to hear what she had to say about Cheyenne.
Clearly, thinking that this was not, and we didn't get to see it. After sending the letter in December of 2022, she had law enforcement show up.
Here.
Just that connection that I shorthand to when my brain gets a little sleepy. They would have gone through Delphi. So her time frame is that they got there about 2:50 and they left at or just after 4 o'clock. In that time, they only saw one man on the trail and then her friends and then the people that were at the connector at the end. So she posted the photos that they took on Facebook that evening, and she tagged Shelly Duncan and a friend of Shelby.
It's Shelby Duncan.
Duncan's ultimately comments on it and says, there were girls out there that went missing. Did you see them? And she said no. So then the next day, all of the news had broke out about what had happened. And she tried to reach out to law enforcement the very next morning when she saw on the news about it, and told them about her car being parked there and who she saw. The lady on the other line was rude, said, "This is a serious matter." I said, "Please take my information." She had to beg them to take her information. So eventually they came to talk to her 2 weeks later. She went to what Shelby Duncan had called and said that a police officer is here and he wants to speak with you. So she went to Shelby Duncan's work and they spoke in the parking lot. Her mom was in the car with her, but did not overhear any part of the conversation. She doesn't know who the officer was, just that it was a male and he was white. When she first got there, he asked about their involvement. She told him their timeline, and he was interested in her call mainly from the point of view that her boyfriend was incarcerated. And so she says he was more interested in antagonizing me about that. She gave him everything that she remembered, and he took notes. There was no body cam or anything, no apparent recording of this conversation with her. He didn't ask to inspect her phone. He didn't get the number off the back of her phone. He didn't get any of the images from her phone. And as far as she knew.
So somebody's interviewing somebody who says they're there during the time frame that the girls are killed. They go missing and they're killed. I'm there from 2:50 to 4 o'clock. They don't look for any information about her. They don't bother to even talk to her for 2 fucking weeks.
So the interview was not audio recorded. A little bit different treatment here than we're seeing in other situations. So she heard nothing else from law enforcement until about 6 months later when she heard from the FBI. So what happened is she received a phone call because her phone is registered in her mother's name. So they called and they asked for her mother. She, when they called, knew what the situation was about and told them, that she knew and that it was her. And they let her know, what they were investigating and told her that her phone had pinged, And so she said, yes, it's, my phone. They clarified all that. And I already spoke to police about it. And they said, okay. And it was about a 5-minute conversation. Weeks later, she heard something again, which is when she tried to reach out in person. The way that she described it was that this case has been blown up online because I posted myself online. And so people were, she was like, people were thinking they were going to solve this crime from their couch, and everybody is throwing out accusations and stuff. So because she posted herself online, people doxed her. They released information about her kids, where she lived, her personal information. She had to give up her professional licensing because they were calling and harassing. And she was concerned that nobody was doing anything about what she saw. So she sent a letter. And it was just to advise them that she was still around, still available, but she was taking her stuff offline. She was no longer going to be online. And also letting them know she's married now and has a different name. So Exhibit UU, the defense has letters for.
She was probably, you know what, Missy's, I think she was probably like late 20s at the time, mid to late 20s at the time. She wasn't super young, but she wasn't like, she had, I know she had at least one child at the time.
For their exhibits. So this is defense UU. It's the letter. She says she created it and sent a copy of it for the purpose of letting them know that she's been dealing with this mess online and tell them how her reporting went the day the girl went missing. She's clearly, thinking that this was not cool. Like, why wouldn't you want to know? They gave her the brush off. So the state objected to this. Ms. Diener for the state said it's not relevant. It's just the same as her testimony because it's her timeline. And Mr. Rosie responds that it's relevant because it shows that she wasn't on law enforcement's radar when they should have known. It goes to the investigation. So it was overruled. The judge says, well, I think, Diener, it goes to weight and not admissibility. So it was admitted and published to the jury. Once again, we didn't get to see it. After sending the letter in December of 2022, she had law enforcement show up in her house. She didn't have a date for it.
Has anybody in mainstream media reported, oh, thank you, Dante. Has anybody in mainstream media reported what that letter said? Who they all got to go see it. So did they report what it said? Have fun, Tiffany. I'll see you over there in a little bit.
But knew it was sometime in 2023. So they showed up the house with a photo of one of the photos of Shelby on the bridge. It was not a photo that she had seen before, she says, but they have this other photo of Shelby on the bridge, and they asked her if it was Shelby Hicks. And she said, no, it's Shelby Duncan. And he said again, is it Shelly Hicks? And she said, no, it's Shelby Duncan. And ultimately, they just, wrap it up. He's getting in the car, and on his way out, he gets in the car and he says, so is this Shelly Hicks? And she says, no, it's Shelly Duncan.
Shelby, but yes.
And he said, okay. And then they left.
So Shelby Hicks is there with Daniel Pearson, and Shelby Duncan is there with Cheyenne. So there's two Shelbys there at the same time.
And she had no contact from law enforcement again until the defense contacted her. And so in the letter, there's a reference to shortly after you passed Richard Allen. She explains that what she put in the letter at this time, there had been leaks in the case, and there was all kinds of stuff on Facebook. The police had said Richard Allen and that she saw each other. So she put that in because of all of the crazy stuff online. And she said it was a call for help and that she didn't get. Like, the letter was a call for help and she didn't get it. But basically she's referring to Richard Allen, seeing Richard Allen, because that's what they understood it to be, the man that she saw to be Richard Allen. And so he clarifies, so you did not see Richard Allen? And she says no. And so Ms. Diener clarifies this. You're not saying you saw Richard Allen. You're saying you saw people saying the man you passed was Richard Allen. And she agreed with this. So Ms. Diener, this is not a skilled cross like in any way. This is like a civil deposition kind of cross where you basically just repeat what they say. It's really ineffective at trial. Like in a civil deposition, what you're doing is you're trying to get them to repeat because one, you're trying to flesh out. So you're trying to get more details that you can then try to validate or invalidate. You're trying to catch them, see if they change anything so that you can catch them in an inconsistency. And ultimately, you're just trying to pin them down very, very specifically on what their story is so that you can then look for evidence that either corroborates it or rejects it, contradicts it. And then that pretty much establishes what your strategy is with this witness at trial. So it's very, very different than what you need to be doing in a criminal trial where it's like,
If the mainstream media is the only person who had access to looking at this letter from Cheyenne, why aren't we getting what it said? Why isn't any mainstream media saying what it said? If they did, and I don't have it, please tell me. If you guys have a link to a mainstream media that goes over what Cheyenne's letter said, since they're the only ones who got to see it, let me know.
This is an adverse witness. Why would you just have them repeat everything that they just said for the jury again? It's not really a smart thing to do, but she did. So they repeated, you told the officer that you passed a man. She does bring out this extra fact. Told the officer you passed a man who was taking pictures and had a camera around his neck. She says, I don't know if he was taking pictures. I saw something around his neck. I thought it might be a camera. I only saw him for a moment. She says she just passed by, only saw him for a moment. And she said he was an old man walking past me right before the platform. So she was heading to the bridge. He was passing behind. And the call came in between Mears and the High Bridge. She remembered answering and thinking she was surprised that she had service. So the time that she parked is just an estimate. They agree with that. As far as the photos that are in the exhibit, she knows that the one taken at 3:49 is the first photo. So they had gotten to the end, used the bathroom, and then gotten back on the bridge and took that first photo before they headed back. So they were on the bridge for all 4 photos, and then they sat there. Before getting off, they sat there and they smoked 2 cigarettes. And that at 3:55, they were still on the high bridge, but over towards the beginning side. She says she took the picture and then they sat and had their cigarettes and went back to the car. Clarified that when they went off the bridge at the end, they stepped off to the right-hand side. There's a steep hill there, so they were at the same level as the end of the bridge when they were doing their business. Mr. Rosie on his redirect says that the notes that she brought, none of them had been prepared until she basically says none of them were prepared until 2 days before her deposition, because that was the first time she'd ever heard from the prosecution. She said, thankfully, Stacy called me and let me know, I guess. So that's the first time she went through things that the defense gave her, things that the prosecution gave her, and she used that to write things down. I think that's probably how she ended up getting those photos from Shelby Duncan, from Shelby's social media.
Wow.
So we then have a sidebar because there's a jury question. The question is, did you see or hear any vehicles on the road under the bridge? And she said, there is no road under there. It's a steep drop off to the water. So it seems she either does not know about or did not remember the road, the driveway road.
Yeah.
If it took it was 3:49 to 3:55 to get end to end, did it take you 6 minutes to walk across the bridge? So the jury is now trying to get a more nailed down timeline of what is it like being on this bridge? How long does it take to get across? Can you get across real fast? Does it take time? She said that we started back at 3:49. We weren't quite. She says we were further back to the north. We were on the far north side. Or they started back at 3:49, and they were heading back towards the north, but they weren't at the end of the platform, so they were further back. So she's basically saying we hadn't gotten all the way across the bridge. She says, I'd say it takes at least 10 minutes to walk across because it is dangerous and falling apart. That seems to be stretching, the photo data a little bit, but without really seeing the photos and where they were taken, it is kind of hard to say. But I don't think it takes very long to get out to that first platform, but I don't know what the condition of the bridge was at the time. That first platform, I'm pretty sure is the same one that's right now where the end of the reconstructed area is, where there's now a rail and you can't.
Okay, so essentially same thing. So I'm just curious about this letter. Fair Justice. This is Andrea Burkhart. She's an attorney that's actually been sitting in the courtroom. If you're not aware of that, I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about. Or if you're talking about the witness, we're talking about Cheyenne, who was on the bridge. She actually was at the trail system from about 2:50 to 4 o'clock. So she did not see anything. She passes a guy who does not say hi to her, wearing a camera around his neck, which is going to end up being Dave McCain. And then she sees a guy and a girl, which is going to probably end up being Daniel Pearson and Shelby Hicks. Okay, so then we had Teresa Liebert that took the stand. We talked about her. Okay, so then we'll go to today, because I know that the attorneys are all going to be going live to talk about today. So let's we'll just catch up on what we can from today's info and then go from there. So their third witness. The third witness is an officer from the Hammond Police Department named Goatee. We've talked about Goatee before. The third witness for the defense, Officer Goatee, he interviewed Brad Weber as part of the Delphi investigation. The state objects to this, and the judge told the jury that it was not substantive evidence. According to Goatee, Weber said he went home after work the day the murders happened. A written report by the FBI special agent working with Goatee was entered as evidence. So this mainstream media is really not talking too much about this. Let me see if Wish did a better job on theirs, because apparently during this conversation, Auger is giving him the reports and asking him, does this refresh your recollection? And he's like, no. I looked at it, but it doesn't refresh my recollection. And she's like, what? That doesn't make any sense. This is your report. He's like, yeah, I still don't remember it. Typically it's okay, yeah, I did. I wrote this at the time. Obviously that's going to be the most important, the most up-to-date information I had. Yes, it refreshes my recollection. But apparently he did not want to say that was his info. There was one question. There was the one question from the juror yesterday that I'm aware of, or from the jury to Cheyenne, asking about about the road underneath the bridge, and she said it's water underneath the bridge. So apparently she doesn't know that there's a private drive or that it's considered a road. I don't know what she thought it was. So then they call the doctor Deanna Wenger, tells the jury that she oversees the Department of Behavioral Health at the Indiana Department of Corrections. She says she has been the director of the department since 2021. Her main job is to oversee the IDOC's contract with the contractor who actually does the employing for the behavioral staff. She tells the jury that she generally knows who Richard Allen is. She confirms that Allen was transferred out of the Westville Correctional Facility. She says the solitary units at Westville and the Wabash Valley Correctional Facility are similar. She says she has not personally met Allen and did not make the decision to move him and does not know who did. Said that Dr. Monica Walla was the psychologist that was assigned to Richard Allen, and that she had told her she was assigned to Richard Allen that she had a special interest in the case. She was apparently telling this doctor, like giving her suggestions on what podcast to go listen to. She tells the jury that Walla told her about listening to Delphi podcasts and recommended her some in early 2023. She tells the jury that she said that she knew that Walla had visited the Monon High Bridge, but says it was before being assigned to Allen. Tells the jury that she thought it was unusual to visit the crime scene of someone you work with, but said that Walla talked to her direct supervisor about the issue. Like, nobody thought that she should not be the psychologist on this case? The state objects to the use of the words crime scene. Dwinger tells the jury she is familiar with Dr. Martin and that he is a psychiatrist and administers medication. She says Dr. Martin no longer works at the IDOC. What? Do we know why? Why doesn't he work there? Nah, Sniper, I don't know if that's going to be enough, though. There is a crime committed. I mean, they prove a crime is committed. I don't think the state of Indiana offers there has to actually be like evidence that supports the confession. So, I mean, all they have to do is prove a crime was committed. Kind of sucks because we know there's a crime committed. Okay, so Allen was assessed in Indianapolis and was assigned a D code in mental health. She explains that a D code means a person that would benefit from a specific and personal therapy treatment plan. Tells the jury she doesn't know if there's ever been safekeepers in either Westville or Wabash. She says she doesn't know why he was assigned there. She says she knew there was video cameras in his cell, and that worried her. She said she recommended the video be removed, but it didn't happen. Tells the jury that solitary confinement can impact mental health and that it is not unreasonable to think being in solitary would have a negative impact over time. Well, yeah, how about 13 months worth of it? What do you think about that? She says 30 or more days of solitary happens only if the inmate is severely mentally ill. What happened to the supposed... That's going to be... It was Daniel Pearson and Shelby Hicks. Huh. So it only happens to somebody who's severely mentally ill. She tells the jury the 30-day rule exists to keep people from being in there too long. She tells the jury that Allen was gravely disabled. She explains the difference between mental health monitoring and mental health treatment. She says treatment is more focused on the actual therapeutics. She says the therapeutic setting at Westville was not ideal, I'm assuming. She confirms that she was on a team that discussed Allen's care, though she was not directly treating him. She described herself as a sounding board for those who were. The state requests another sidebar. And asks Rosie asks her about solitary confinement for mentally ill patients. And then Stacy Diener does cross and says Dwenger confirms Alan was not severely mentally ill and began to decompensate until he was. Wait, what? Diener gets her to say this? Confirms Alan was not severely mentally ill and began to decompensate until he was in the Westville Correctional Unit. She says she was first contacted about Alan in April of 2023. She said that's when his core team was formed. There's some dates wrong here. This doesn't. So maybe not. She's not contacted until April of 2023, which goes along with when all the confessions started. But then she's saying that Diener's getting her to say he was not severely mentally ill. Then why was he in, and that nothing was going on until April of 2023, essentially? Then why is he in solitary confinement from November until April? That she kind of counteracts herself there, no? Am I wrong on understanding that message? Because you're only staying in solitary confinement like that for 30 days. I mean, I think that this is counterintuitive to what she just testified to. Maybe I'm not understanding it correctly. The first contact she describes was coming from Dr. Walla, asking if Alan could have a meeting with his wife. She tells the jury that at that point, Walla told her that Alan was faking it. Okay. Tells the jury the team was called an MDT, a multidisciplinary team. She explains that gravely ill means you aren't able to take care of yourself. She says it got to the point where it didn't matter if he was faking it and they needed to intervene. The Haldol shots, she explains the Haldol shots to the jury and says it helps with psychosis symptoms, and being gravely ill is a symptom of psychosis. So once again, we're medicating a man we're saying is faking it, but his faking it turns into something that's not fake. Because he faked it for so long, it turns into something that's not fake. But that happens pretty quickly then, because this is all happening in April. All of this is still happening in end of March, beginning of April. Said that's a leading question. Well, she was on cross. She should be able to lead. Diener ended her cross-examination, and Rosie begins with his redirect. Diener asks for a sidebar. Reporter notes that Judge Go looks frustrated. State objects again after Rosie asks another question. Both end, and the jury asks questions. I did see that update earlier today that apparently the prosecution is full of objections today, and that Gold did seem to be getting very frustrated. Okay, so jury gets the questions. Does the DOC ever place safekeepers in general population? She says yes. Question 2, could it be possible Alan was faking so he would not be moved to general population? She says it's possible, but she doesn't know for Alan. She didn't interact with the dude, so that's weird. Did you hear threats to Alan from other inmates yourself? She says no. Number 4, could a person slip in truth of a confession even when faking it? She says it's hard to tell, but yes. She says you can tell if people are faking it based on the organization of thoughts, if the conversation is goal-oriented and chronological. She said Alan was not having delirium. Did they test for delirium? Because what Dr. Wallace said was they did not test for delirium. What is the typical process, or number 5, what is the typical process for safekeepers with severe mental illness? She says the same as the general process. Question 6. What is the primary obligation to a safekeeper working with an inmate with severe mental illness? She says the same process, same obligations. Okay. So she should be done. There's an immediate sidebar about surveillance videos of Richard Allen. The defense calls Max Baker. Wait, Max Baker's number 5. Who are we missing? Oh, no, that's right. Okay. Because he's 3, she's 4. Max Baker's 5. Who is an intern who works for the defense. He's a graduate of IU and has worked on the case since November of 2022. We've heard a lot about Max Baker. Right. I hope so too, Carbon. I was thinking the same thing. Because I think he's faking it so he doesn't get moved to Gen Pop. But he wasn't eligible to be moved to Gen Pop regardless. He tells the jury he heard Harshman's testimony. Reporter notes that at this point, Allen's wife, Kathy, leaves the courtroom with 3 others. Baker testifies that he has reviewed most of Allen's phone calls and videos from Westville. He says he was asked to compile video of Allen at Westville and put it on a flash drive. The prosecution is continually objecting. Baker says the video was given to the prosecution as part of the discovery. He says there are 2 main video formats, camcorder video and security camera video. The camcorder video is video outside of Allen's cell, and the security video is inside the cell. The camcorder video has sound. The security video does not. Remember, they're following him around with this camcorder, but they're not recording the sound of it. They already screwed that up though, because the other guy testified about the sound and how he heard certain things, and we were like, wait a minute, that doesn't even make sense. Can't hear things that there's not supposed to be sound. That makes sense too. Okay, so it tells that the camcorder video does not have a timestamp. It was just put in folders with general timeline information. He says he tried to piece it together as best as possible. He explains that the in-cell video on the flash drive is from the 15th of every month, so from November 22 to December 2023, aside from April to July of 2023, where there is more video than just on the 15th. Okay. The defense asked to admit the video. They also show spreadsheets that explain the videos by date and time the video was taken. Prosecution objects. Another sidebar, court goes back into recess. Okay, the court comes back. The defense intern, Max Baker, is back on the stand. The defense immediately requests a sidebar. Sidebar lasts 10 minutes before the jury's back in the courtroom. Baker tells the jury there is an issue with the security and camcorder videos of Allen because the prosecution provided them to the defense without the needed timestamps. Oh, really? What a surprise. What a fucking surprise. Rosie says we are dealing with what we were given by the state. Judge Gull tells the jury they will break for lunch until 1 p.m. So the court is back in recess, where they try to figure out what the hell is going on. The defense has filed a motion today requesting that an FBI special agent be allowed to testify remotely. This is Adam Pohl. We've heard of Adam Pohl before, who is currently working in San Antonio, Texas. They want him to be able to just testify remotely so that he doesn't have to come there and interrupt his actual work. It says testimony is going to take about 30 minutes. The defense says it is extremely difficult for him to appear in person given his current job responsibilities pertinent to the November 5th election. He was previously assigned to Indiana. The motion can be viewed below. Okay. Well, we'll see what she has to say about that. If she's going to let him do it remotely. Okay, so back in session. Max is not there. Max is not back on the stand. They're going to hold off on playing these videos and try to see if they can get the actual time and date for each one because... Shit. Sorry. Otherwise, the judge isn't going to let them put it in evidence, even though that's how the state gave it to him. This is so funny to me. Okay, so they call Brad Heath. You guys all should remember, if you follow this case, Brad Heath. Brad Heath is the one who was the bug guy. We heard a lot about the bug guy. Let me see if I have him in here. I should. And he was working across 300 North, and I'll show you where too. He was working across 300 North on the 14th. Nope, I'm sorry. On the 13th. I don't know why I'm saying the 14th. And he was doing like a surveillance thing of this property over here. That's called the Anderson Company. Then I'll show you where that is. But he was like a pest control guy, and when he went on, he actually called into Gray Hughes at one point and was talking about this vehicle that he had seen parked over by the CPS building, and how he was there that morning and it was there that night or afternoon, like around 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon. So this is Brad Heath. You may remember him from he was on the news.
On the same trail Thursday, Brad Heath says a message from God brought him here.
Hopefully you guys aren't wearing anything in your ears.
Here to blow the shofar, signaling God is fighting for his people.
The people of Delphi need the Lord to fight for us in this time, this trying time.
Trying for Brad because he was working near the trail the day the girls died.
And had no idea I was not that far from it, so it's bothered me. Well, there's some things I passed along that I hope will help the investigation.
Things you witnessed?
Yes. You feel funny when you think that if I would have paid more attention to this or that, it has to be resolved. This is evil.
We ran into two other people who came to that.
Okay, so he had a lot of guilt for the fact that he was literally across the street. So let me show you. And he doesn't see any muddy bloody guys either, just FYI. So Anderson's over here. So this is where he's working, and he says that he sees a car parked along the side of the road. Oh, wrong street. I'm showing you guys on the highway. Along the side of the road, not necessarily in the CPS lot, but more along the side of the road. And then he sees it there in the morning, and then it's still there in the afternoon as he's working the property over here. So just so you guys can have a general idea of what, like the area. So over here, and he sees this car parked right here on along the side of the road. So let's go back. We'll go see what he testifies to. So they call Brad Heath. Heath tells the jury that he lives just outside of Delphi. He's 70 years old. He works for the Reliable Exterminators, and he retired 5 years ago. He says that he managed a company business for the Delphi area and surrounding spots. He describes doing a job at a company called Anderson's, and the scans of the building he did on February 13th. His last scan was done at 2:06 p.m. Rosie hands Heath a report he requested that shows what Heath did that day at the stop. The report refers to Heath seeing a vehicle at 8:45 a.m. the morning of the murders. He noticed it was in the same location that afternoon. Heath said the car was halfway down the road near the CPS building, parked about 2 feet off the road. He said it was an older car and looked out of place. He said he went to law enforcement a week after the crimes to tell them after he realized what happened. Heath said he talked to law enforcement a few times over the years at his own prompting. He said he recently spoke to law enforcement about having seen a car that looked like it was, quote unquote, in a movie. He says the car was a 4-door that looked like it was from the 80s or 90s. He said he was about 150 to 250 yards away when he saw it. The defense shows a photo of the car. I don't know what photo of the car it would be. A photo of a car? He said he had no recollection of cars being in the CPS lot or not. He said he saw different angles of the same car at different points throughout the day. The prosecution had no questions for Heath. They didn't even cross-examine him. Jury has no questions then, apparently, either. But it's a car from the 80s or 90s, and it's parked off to the side. Next witness is Dave McCain. This is also known as Flannel Shirt Guy. We finally get an answer to what time Dave McCain arrived at the trails. We've not been told all the years. I've never seen it. Maybe it was leaked. I never saw it leaked. What time Dave McCain actually arrived at the freaking trails. Yep, here's good old flannel shirt guy. So the defense calls Dave McCain. He said he lives just outside of Delphi. He says he has lived there for 20 years. He is 79 years old. He is a longtime volunteer and was a project manager for the Monon High Bridge Trail. Him and his brother Dan are very interesting characters, man. Well, you know what? I don't know if I actually have him. Let me see if I have him in here. I may have him in here. If not, I know I have a picture of them. They're both very interesting characters. I mean, there's a whole. Those are whole huge other rabbit holes when it comes to. Come on, why are you acting silly? There he is. I'm waiting to figure that out because I don't know if she's going to. Does it mean all third party or does it just mean the third party in the motion? I don't know what she's going to do. But him and his brother are just. I mean, they're very interesting characters, like I said. And this is his brother Dan McCain. He was the president of the canal president of the Wabash and Erie Canal Association. It's been rumored, and this didn't come up yet, but it was rumored that he was actually out at the trails that day too, riding his bike. We don't have anything that shows that, but just telling you that was a rumor that was talked about. That he was out there riding his bike like he did often. So they have a huge history of wanting, like Linda said, like they went through a lot to quote unquote preserve and save the bridge and this trail system. So once again, another rabbit hole. I won't take you guys down it right now, but it was a big one. Not what I wanted. Okay, he tells the jury that he went to the bridge many times as a child and started planning to develop the trail in 2013. He said he's walked the bridge many times and was out there just about a month ago. McCain said he was on the trail and bridge on February 13th, 2017. He said he got to the trail around 2 or 3 p.m. and parked at the Mears entrance. He said he saw no other cars there and walked to the high bridge. He got there at 2 or 3 p.m. You have to think about this. He gets there at 2. I wonder if he had a moped. That's a good question. He gets to the trails around 2 or 3 p.m. How do they not have a better idea of when he got there at this point? But he parks at the Mears. So you got to think about that. He parks at the Mears. He said he saw no other vehicle. He said he saw no other cars there and walked to the high bridge. He said he took photos and walked just the beginning of the bridge. So he doesn't go all the way across, according to him. No, he's there between. He gets there at 2 to 3 p.m. You guys, think about that timing. He walks out to the bridge between 2 and 3 p.m. I would like that to be more precise, but says he took photos and walked just to the beginning of the bridge. McCain said the bridge is 65 feet above the water, and you can see it clearly below. He tells the jury that he used a camera, not a phone, to take photos that day. He said he did that for less than an hour, or less than a half hour. McCain said he saw a couple while he was there. So Daniel and Shelby. He said it could have been before or after he went to the bridge. He said there may have been people off in the distance that he saw, but he only passed a couple. McCain said that he left before 4 p.m. He said he was surprised at the number of people at the Mears entrance when he returned to his car, so not a moped. McCain tells the jury he did not see pedestrians on 300 North when he left. He said someone shouted out to him, "Have you seen the girls?" when he was leaving the entrance. He said that evening he was at a community meeting and some emergency people said they were investigating missing kids. McCain said he became concerned about the girls and called the sheriff's office to say he was there that day. He said 2 FBI agents and 1 ISP agent came to his house and interviewed him. He said he gave them the photos from his camera and his SIM card. I just want to back this up just a hot minute. We know from Derek's testimony that Derek talked to him at the trail crossing while he was out looking for the girls. And that's always been the story, is that he talked to flannel shirt guy. He did not know who he was until somebody came along and showed him pictures of, somebody figured it was one of the McCains. I don't know how they got to that point, but they showed him pictures of both of the brothers. And he said, that's the one. That's the one that I talked to. I remember he supposedly asked him, did you see girls over at the bridge? And he says no, which is why Derek says he decided to walk towards Freedom Bridge and not towards the High Bridge. So he doesn't put that in his testimony at all. He just says that when he was leaving around the 4 o'clock mark is when somebody yelled at him. I don't know. Maybe he's just confusing those two. Maybe he's thinking that happened at the same time. And maybe he was at that trail crossing when someone yelled, "Have you seen the girls?" But I have an issue here because when he's supposedly out on the bridge, Cheyenne's out there. And he says he doesn't see Cheyenne. But remember, Cheyenne just testified yesterday that she walked past the man with the camera. But he says he doesn't see anybody else. He only saw the couple. No, it was supposed to be at the bridge local last. I think Becky Patty accidentally changed it to under the bridge, but it was supposed to be like at the bridge. But it doesn't make sense to me. This still does not line up. He's the grumpy guy with the camera. So when somebody says, "Hey, did you see the 2 girls? Did you see 2 girls?" How does he not say, "Yes, I just saw 2 girls"? Because he saw Cheyenne and Shelby. Why does he say no? Yeah, Cheyenne testified that she heard nobody screaming. No screaming whatsoever. No girls screaming, no boys screaming, no screaming. This just does not add up to me. But doesn't matter because right now we're just in trial, but it's another. If you guys feel the need to go down a rabbit hole, I'm telling you to stick with this one. This is a good one. He said that evening he was at a community meeting in some rural. We said that one. McCain said 2. We did that one. He said 2 or 3 years later he was called and asked if he had seen a certain car in the distance of his photos. There's a car in the distance of his photos? Do we get to see the photos? What car's in the distance of his photos? $3.021. Good luck. Good luck with that. You're funny. When he said couple down under the bridge arguing, so McCain was under the bridge because you can't see from that vantage point. Did Derek ask who? Description? The under the bridge got changed. It was not under the bridge until Becky did an interview and said under the bridge. It was always, according to the other statements, was at the bridge, which makes more sense. But, I mean, take it for what you want. So there's a car in the distance of his photos. I'd love to hear more about this. Love to hear more about this. Okay, so cross-examination. It's the troll. They're spelling it wrong still. Shows McCain a document of the FBI interview. Attorney Baldwin objects, saying it was improper. Goal allows McCain to look at the document. Luttrell asks him if he left at 4 p.m. or shortly after. He says yes. McCain says the man shouting at him that day was a pretty large man in a bright orange jacket. He said something like, "Have you seen the girls?" in a concerned way. At 2:05 p.m., the defense called. Okay, that was it for him, I guess. The defense called former Delphi fire chief Daryl Starrett. This is the eighth witness for the defense. It says he grew up in Delphi, graduated in 1985. He's been a firefighter for 36 years. He was the fire chief on February 13th. We've seen interviews with him too. I don't think I have him in the Prezi though. I didn't get that far with law enforcement and the like. Starrett said he was at the station house around 6 that night because there was a training event. He said the word came in that 2 girls were missing. He said he went to the Carroll County Sheriff's Office where Joint Command had been set up. He said that he tried to figure out where they were and sent people to search for them. He tells the jury that they were directing the search through dispatch and that Mullen and Lesenby were in charge of the search. He's shown a document that kept track of where firefighters, cadets, and officers were that day. He said they are an entirely volunteer department, but everyone was at the station that day because of the training event. Tells the jury they were notified about the girls at 7:01 p.m. He said he left to go to the Unified Command at 7:10. He says about 6 of the volunteer firefighters were at the bridge that night around 9:30 p.m. He took his personal vehicle and the volunteer firefighters took 2 fire trucks. Okay, this makes sense because we did hear about fire trucks blocking certain areas. Said he entered the trails off of the 625 West, and he drove to the end of it and parked. Okay, so he's down here. He's down here, 625 West, and he drove to the end of it and parked. Now, does he actually drive out onto the private drive? Because this is technically the 625 West still. Or does he drive? No, he either parks here or he drives it all the way down to Weber's. So I don't know what he's considering the end. He said there were houses on the left. That would be Liebert's. He said he parked in someone's yard. He said one vehicle drove up to the bridge, but the others all walked. He tells the jury that they needed the search to be boots on the ground. He said he thought the girls were scared and cold. It was not an organized grid type search. He says the searchers were separated by varying amounts of distance. He said they stayed more southwest of the bridge, only on the east side a bit, which goes along with, I think, Mullen's testimony where he said the reason that they were searching this area over here because they thought if the girls had fallen in the creek that they would have gone downstream. I mean, it makes sense. I understand the philosophy behind it. I just don't know why. I'm in agreement with you too, Nancy. I can see it going both. I can understand why they started where they started, though. I just don't know. I don't know. Okay, he said. Okay, so he said they left the scene around 1:30 a.m. or 2, and then he corrects himself and says he left at 2:30 on the 14th. Said he ordered a search north, south, east, and west of the bridge. In a deposition, he said there may have been higher intensity lights from vehicles, but he's not sure. He says the night was very dark, that the firefighters were using department-issued flashlights. They had a spot or flood setting. He said someone may have shined a light on Deer Creek to search for the girls. Told the jury that nobody from his team saw anything floating in the creek. No clothes. And did not hear anyone shout out saying they saw anything. He said he could hear people during the search. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, Carbon, I wonder if it's the same one I have. Can you see a blonde girl's hair in it? By chance? The jury has 2 questions for him. How long ago did you give your deposition? Did you get a copy at the time? He gave his deposition 3 weeks ago, and it was mailed to him. Okay, what are they thinking he's lying? Huh. Did you search the area southeast of the cemetery? He said, I did not personally. Okay, that was the jury question for him. Then they go out again. And Goal again denied a renewed defense request to present testimony about Odinism, Norse paganism, and ritualistic killing. The judge also will not allow testimony about other suspects. She can't just rule it out completely if there's a fucking nexus. That was the whole point. The judge's decisions came after arguments in court late on Friday. The defense team had asked for a ruling on their motion, which had been made days earlier, before they proceeded with additional witnesses before the jury. All right, let's see what this one says, because that seems to be the last thing that was updated on here. All right, let me check over here real quick. I don't understand, I guess. How Brad Weber was a suspect. There's absolutely a nexus to him, especially if he's changing his timeline so that he was near the crime scene at 2:30 in the afternoon. Anyone help me out with that? All right, I'm just looking to see if there's anything else from after this. Look at the Delphi chat. One of the P's found another van discovery. In reality, it's Gull. Gull is doing everything she can to help Nick. You are allowed to have a defense. I mean, talk about immediate reversible error when they're not even allowing him his Sixth Amendment right to his defense. I don't know, man. That just not adding up for me. The whole point was that she wasn't going to allow the Odinism and all this because they didn't have the nexus. Okay, hold on. Another van situation. There's a white van below the helicopter too. Okay, that's on the 14th though. That's another white van. Mm-hmm. Mr. Slick is Becky P's nephew by first marriage. He was asked to recuse himself but refused. Nick's family expect the run railroad over RA now. Does Indiana want both justice and closure, or let's just pretend, lock RA up and throw away the key? Jurisprudence is dead. Anybody have any further updates past the arguments about third party that were heard in court? I'm going to just double check, and if you guys have to let me know if you guys want a portal. If you guys want a portal, let me know. I'm just going to check and see if there's anything else after that. We do have the original action that was filed by Andrea Burkhart. So we can possibly read through that sometime maybe this weekend. So I wonder if the whole FBI thing with Pohl is even going to matter, because Pohl was the one who had a conversation about Brad Holder. So I wonder if he has something else to offer. All right. Usually watch Andrea at about 1.5 without chat. Yeah, I don't. Nobody in. She's not looking at chat, so it's really kind of pointless to be in chat. Except for you're going to talk to each other. I don't see any updates past that, so I think we're going to probably end it with the third party being out, and we'll have to get some clarification from those in the courtroom. Wait, there's supposed to be new Google search stuff from today. Where's that at? Did anybody see new Google search stuff from today? Oh, shibby, that's got to be crazy. All right, somebody tell me if there was new Google search stuff from today, because that was like the whole argument earlier in the chat. And now we're through the information we have for today, and I don't see anything about it. So what was that about? So what was that whole argument about then? Oh my goodness. All right, you guys want to portal over to Andrea? Let's go see. Let's see who's live. We'll do Andrea. Concern is in solitary confinement. I'm just trying to see if there was anything else. I don't see. I don't see anything about Google searches from today. Come on, you flippin' thing. I'm gonna restart my computer because it's just being such a bitch today. Bob may or may not go live today. Ali said he was going to do a drone thing with somebody. Okay. I did. I saw that. Okay, Carbon, you're going to post it now? Let me just take a look. I'm going to see if it's the same one that I've seen. Okay, it's not up yet. All right, post it now so I can take a look at it. I want to see if it's the same one I've seen. Right, this so yeah, I'm gonna reboot this PC because it's going slow. Probably because I have so much shit open all the time to go through this stuff. I'm gonna head over to Andrea's. If anybody finds anything about Google searches from today, please send them to me. I'd love to see what the fuck that was about and why I ended up in an argument with somebody to wait to talk about them. But it is what it is. I have the portal set up to go over to Andrea's. So as soon as this live ends, it'll take us over there. I was wanting to see Carbon's photo, but I'll take a look at it later because it's not up yet. It's not loading on my computer yet, which is not a surprise for how things have been acting. Over here just goes along with exactly how I feel about everything else in life. So thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. I know that there's other places that are talking about the case that you guys could hang out, and you still choose to hang out here with me. I absolutely appreciate, even though I have to cough in the middle of saying it, I absolutely appreciate all of you guys being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hi, Autumn. I'm going to go so I can get a drink, and I will talk to you guys hopefully tomorrow, or I'll see you over out on the YouTube streets. Have a good one.